First of all, my apologies for my appearance. I was literally up all night. I got some sleep, but not much. Talk about what happened last night, what continues to happen into the early morning hours of this morning, as well as this morning itself. I don't know why anyone would have expected a different initial result than what we had with these, and I say initial result for a reason, which we'll talk about in a bit. But I don't know why anyone expected something other than exactly what you saw, which was some Republican pickups, some Democrat pickups. There has been no reason supplied to us, to the public. Now, obviously things work different in the private world where we're not privy to all of that information, but there's been nothing significant revealed to us, the people and the citizens of the United States, that would suggest anything except what happened last night was going to happen. What has changed? I've been saying this for months. What has changed since 2020 in regards to our elections? Nothing. Zero. You're voting on the same machines, on the same tabulators. You have the same Sharpie versus pen issues. You have the same machines mysteriously and conveniently going down when there's long lines of Kerry Lake supporters or Mehmet Oz supporters or whatever. You have all of these same exact issues happen in 2020. There should be no reason why we expected any different. I've literally been saying that for months, and I said that the best option, the most likely option, was to cancel this election for that reason. If you didn't want to say exactly what the reason was because the public wasn't ready for the reveal, then come up with a different reason. But you can't have the election if the election is still broken. You can't promote a red wave and in the same breath promote or predict a red wave, but in the same breath keep talking about how 2020 was stolen. You can't have it both ways. You can't say that the last election was stolen, but now we're going to have a red wave. No. Why would you think that? Why would, and I'm not talking to you, my followers, I'm talking to, just in general, just general logic says that if it happened before and the bad guys were allowed to get in, it's going to happen again when the next election occurs, because now not only will nothing be changed because the people that are in power aren't going to change it because the bad guys got in. They were the ones that got in. So why would they change anything to risk them not getting in or losing a majority or anything like that? Why would they make any of those changes? They wouldn't. But I got news for you. I've been sitting on this for a little while. And I wasn't sure exactly how this was going to play out. And truthfully, I'm still not sure. I was thinking something would happen last night, which is why I stayed up most of the night. It didn't happen, obviously, last night, but that doesn't mean it's not going to. In fact, I know it is. And I'm going to talk more about that on my next live. I can tell you, and I've said this before, probably many times, but this time I truly mean it. My next live should not be missed. You're not going to want to miss this next one. This is probably the biggest live that I've ever done. For various reasons, but the most obvious reasons being the reason of, the midterms. Let me leave you with this. See if you could draw some connections. If the weatherman calls for rain, before you go outside, what do? If, for those of you that live in the Northeast, or even the northern tier, if there's a giant snowstorm coming, what do you see the trucks doing the night before to the roads? If you watch a weather forecast and the weatherman calls for 105 degree heat wave over the next several days, how do you dress in the morning for your day? Now, those answers are rhetorical. Hopefully you answer them to yourself in your head. And the question that I have for you is, why would you do those things? Why would your answers be your answers? What causes you to do those actions? You're reacting to a report. You're reacting to a eventuality. Something is going to happen, and you prepare yourself for that something, right? You don't, if a snowstorm's coming and you're the local municipality or the local city, you treat the roads. You put down some sort of solvent, some sort of chemical that can melt ice and snow so that there are not traffic pileups. People can still get to work and to whatever destination they have to get to, especially in the case of an emergency. The snow plows and the salt trucks, prep. They call people in for overtime. All of that happens prior to a snowstorm. Not during the snowstorm, prior to. If you know it's going to be 100 and some degrees for the next few days, you're going to make sure that you have shorts and light clothes to wear. You're not going to dress in the morning and, sweatpants and a hoodie. You're not going to do that. Those are called preparations for events to come. And I don't know. I know a lot of people this morning are upset because of the results that are announced, but keep in mind where those results have been announced. You only know that those are the results because you watched it where? On the mainstream media, right? And what do we know about watching the mainstream media? What have we known for years about watching the mainstream media? Most of us most likely have not even turned on CNN or Fox or NBC or wherever you were watching it last night for the last couple of years, several years maybe. But yet we turned it on last night, and we hear all of the commentators, oh, so much for a red wave, and we see all the results coming in, and, you know, obviously they're not at all what Trump said they were going to be, and they're not at all what Scavino said they were going to be, but again, it's the mainstream media. It's the same mainstream media that we've known that we have to stop listening to. So what are the true results of the vote last night? Is there a greater power at play? Are there white hats? Is there a plan? Has there been a plan, and has there been a plan in place for years? Not only the last 2 years since the election fraud in 2020, but several years before that. Has there been a plan? If you think the answer to that is yes, then what we witnessed last night was simply part of the plan. How does the plan go from here? Tune into my live, because I know how it's going to go. I don't agree with it. And I'll tell you why during my live. But it's a good outcome. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't agree with it because it's a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's what we want to happen. But we'll get into more detail. I'm not going to do a live right here from my phone, obviously, but we'll get into more detail a bit later. I fully believe in the plan. In fact, I know with no doubt whatsoever that the Patriots are in control, have been in control, and everything that happened yesterday was very much prepared for. And without even knowing that information, if you think about this logically, okay, just take a step back, forget about Q, forget about thoughts of election fraud, forget about Trump and 2020 and how it was stolen, forget about all that for a second. Now let me ask you a question, okay? The Democrats control the House of Representatives, the Democrats control the White House, and the Democrats control the Senate. Now, yes, it's 50-50, but the tiebreaker going to, of course, the Vice President, who is also a Democrat, okay? The Democrats are completely in control of our country. And again, not knowing what we know to be true, we're just taking what's on the surface as reality. The Democrats are in control of our country. Our gas is out of control. Our gas prices is out of control. Every time I have to put gas in this thing, it's like, wow. Like, I have to pay that much to travel that far. It's crazy. I try not to drive it as much as I like it. I try not to drive it. Inflation, in terms of what we buy on a regular basis at the grocery store, at the clothing store, at the whatever store, everything is more expensive. Houses are more expensive. Vehicles are more expensive. And then you start looking into, interest rates and what the Federal Reserve has had to do to combat inflation, in their words, their stupid lying words, with the rate hikes and how much more expensive it is to own a home. Not only is it more expensive to own a home, but the cost of a home itself, the actual fair market value of a home is higher, right? So you have the higher price tag of the house, and then you also have the higher interest rate for that price tag. So everything's just, and then you have the illegal aliens coming over across our border. We got a wide open border, and they just come right across. You have a president who is a buffoon. He can't speak. You have a Senate candidate in John Fetterman who looks like Shrek and talks like Joe Biden. I don't know what's worse. Who just had a stroke and can barely put simultaneous thoughts together without making some sort of, snafu in his speech. You have Josh Shapiro, governor of the state of Pennsylvania, who is a very outspoken critic of Donald Trump and stands up to election fraud and denies the election fraud in every breath. You could go back and look at his Twitter account from 2020. You have these people, and those are just a couple, and I'm mentioning them because it's mind-boggling that anyone could believe that those two could receive that amount of votes. Katie Hobbs in Arizona, the girl that's running against Kari Lake. You really think she got that many votes against Kari Lake? What on earth would possess someone to vote for a Katie Hobbs over a Kari Lake? It's not even logical to think that somebody like Katie Hobbs could get 30% of the vote. There's no way Katie Hobbs could get more than 30% of that vote. It is impossible. She would not talk to Kari Lake. She would not debate Kari Lake. She would not address any issue that the great people of Arizona had in their government. She was completely off limits and called a lid to her campaign very early because Kari Lake wanted to talk about the issues. And Katie Hobbs was nowhere to be found. I could go on and on and on. Whitmer, Newsom was almost recalled. Newsom was almost fired. He wins an election? Listen, all of these bad things happening in the country, right? Everyone is affected. You look at the exit polls that were done on certain questions that were asked. How has inflation affected your family? Severely, moderately, or not at all? Not at all was like 4%, which are the super rich. Moderately was like, I don't know, I think it was like 30 or 40%, and the rest of it was severely. Yet, you're telling me all of those people who are answering that question, that they were affected severely or even moderately, they don't have the common sense in their minds to vote out the people who are in office? It's not even about Democrat, Republican. It's about who's in office. Who's in office that I want to get out of office? I don't want these people in office that put us in this situation. I would vote against every single incumbent. And yeah, if there were a Trump-endorsed candidate here and there, of course, the MAGA crowd is going to endorse, excuse me, the Trump-backed candidate. In the case of no incumbent, like, Fetterman and Oz, for example, you look to see who the Trump-backed candidate was. When people are this severely affected by their government because of the policies that their government put in place, you do not see people elect those same people. You want to know how there's election fraud, or if there's election fraud? Is Congress, and the White House, by extension of Congress, is Congress doing a good job with the country? If the answer is no, which it very clearly is over the last 2 years, if the answer is no, you should expect the people that are in office to be voted out of office. It's that simple. And if the people that are in office that are doing a bad job get reelected, that is fraud. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it's no more simple than that. So, not only do I think there was fraud in last night's election, I believe that there was massive fraud in last night's election. And I'm not a big, well, let me say this with all honesty. I hate losing, okay? In anything. You can't play me in ping pong and not get a very severe, fight. I will win the ping pong game. And if I don't, I am going to come back and win the next one. So there's a difference, though, with being competitive and always wanting to win and complaining when you lose. I'm not complaining about the results last night, and I'm not saying, oh, well, our side is way better and our candidates are way better, so of course there's fraud because we lost. No. There's fraud because there was fraud in 2020, and it was proven, by the way. We proved beyond the shadow of a doubt that there was election fraud rampant in 2020. In addition to that, a logical, sane person who recognizes that their government is doing nothing. In fact, it's worse than doing nothing. It's not like we stagnated for 2 years since Trump left office and things stayed the same or got slightly worse. They got way worse, okay? It is not logical for any sane person to think that people will go to the voting polls and want more of the bad thing. It's like getting punched in the face once a day for 2 years, okay? Pick the time of the day, morning, afternoon, night, doesn't matter. But you have to get punched in the face every day. Doesn't have to be the right side of your face every time. Doesn't have to be the left side of your face. Doesn't have to be your nose, your mouth, or your forehead. Could even be the back of your head, wherever you want. Anywhere on your head. You have to get hit in the head and punched in the head once a day for 2 years. Then, when you go to the polls, there's a question. Do you want to continue the punches every day for the next 2 years or however long? Most logical and sane people are going to vote no. I have a choice? Then no, I don't want to get punched in the head every day. So they vote no, and no wins a huge majority. Now, there's going to be some people that pretend to get punched in the face, but they really don't. They'll vote yes. So you'll always see a small portion of these, I call them liar voters. They're not actually voting. They're just voting for the opposite of what they know is going to be the main, because it doesn't matter. They know what the winner is going to be. So they're just going to vote the other way just to be a smartass. They're liars. People do vote that way, by the way. Last night, we are led to believe that the majority of the races in which people continue to get punched in the face, they voted yes, we want to continue to get punched in the face. That's what we're led to believe. I'm not buying it. Tune into my next live. It's going to be tonight or tomorrow. I don't know which one yet. I'll let you guys know soon. Love y'all.